The Walt Disney Corporation has been a huge entertainment and media powerhouse for as long as any of us have been alive. While a great deal of its Titanic output has seen home video release or is at least available to watch in some form online, the law of averages dictates that with this sheer volume of material, a good amount is going to slip through the cracks of the internet. And while some of the following TV shows and movies and shorts can be found partially online, much of this material remains safely locked up in a vault somewhere in the House of Mouse, and some of it is almost certainly gone for good. So today, we're going over 15 lost Disney cartoons, episodes, and shorts that we may never see again. Nightmare Ned. Nightmare Ned aired very briefly, for 4 months in 1997, on the ABC network as part of their Saturday morning lineup. Like the Windows PC video game on which it was based, the show featured an odd blend of humor and horror elements. Its protagonist, Ned Needlemeyer, is a 10-year-old boy who deals with his anxieties by confronting versions of them in his nightmares. The dark themes and animation style set the show apart from the rest of ABC's lineup, but didn't necessarily help it to attract viewers. The show was cancelled after only 12 episodes, for a mundane reason. It kept running over budget, and was never really given a chance to find its footing, having a rather high concept premise that was not understood well by network executives. Of the 12 episodes that were produced, 9.5 are available online. The 22-minute show was regularly split into two 11-minute segments, and the first half of episode 8 is unaccounted for, while episodes 3 and 10 are missing in their entirety.
Disney's Sing Me a Story with Belle. Running in syndication on the Disney Channel between 1995 and 1999, Sing Me a Story with Belle was an educational series featuring Belle from Beauty and the Beast, who is now the proprietor of a bookshop in the village. Similar in format to Shining Time Station, the show employed musical segments and clips from classic Disney cartoons as a means for Belle to impart moral lessons to her young visitors in accordance with the recent EI, or Educational Information Content mandates that had been passed by the FCC in 1990. This clever use of Disney's Deep Vault allowed producers to use higher quality animation than could normally be found in educational shows at that time. However, the show may have been overshadowed by Timon and Pumbaa, an animated series based on the hit film The Lion King, that made its debut on the same day as Sing Me a Story. The series was ultimately cancelled after 26 episodes. Of these, only 10 have surfaced online. A British YouTuber was able to capture them airing on Playhouse Disney UK, something which probably will not happen again anytime soon. Until then, the other 16 episodes will likely remain buried deep in Disney's vault.
The Schnookums and Meat Funny Cartoon Show.
By 1995, Disney had decided that they were going to need a response to the current wave of gross-out, extreme slapstick cartoons like Ren and Stimpy and Rocko's Modern Life. While the animation is not nearly as innovative as either of those, and the humor is not quite as edgy, the episodes that are available are pretty damn funny. Schnookums the Cat and Meat the Dog led off each show with one segment, and two more segments of each show were devoted to Pith Possum, Super Dynamic Possum of Tomorrow, basically a Batman spoof, and Tex Tin Star, a Western parody. The show ran on the Disney Afternoon syndicated lineup, and reruns later broadcasted on the Toon Disney Channel until that station demise in 2009. Unfortunately, but somewhat predictably, Disney's attempt at edgy animated humor failed to catch on, and the show lasted only a measly 13 episodes. Of these, only 8 are available online, although Spanish versions of a couple of these missing episodes are rumored to be floating around.
Laughlets. Perhaps the most obscure of the lost Disney media, Laughlets was one of the earliest works from Walt Disney, made sometime between 1922 and 1923. They are a series of silent short animations made by the man himself, and have seldom seen any release of any kind. Very little information is known about Laughlets. There are no screenshots, no ads, and obviously no footage. There's nothing. What we do know are the names of all the shorts, their runtime being sometime between 20 to 30 seconds, and according to Big Cartoon Database, that they were made to fill in the gap between Disney's Laugh-O-Gram series and Alice comedies. It's unknown if any copies exist to this day. The Mickey and Minnie Mouse sex tape. Now allow me to briefly switch gears. While the existence of the animated short we're about to talk about is purely rumor, perhaps even an urban legend, the mere possibility makes it too good to not include on this list, and the story has been recounted by at least one credible source. According to the legend, a pair of Disney animators were inspired to create the short for Walt Disney himself on the occasion of his birthday in 1936. The short gag reel was, to put it bluntly, Mickey and Minnie Mouse porn, and it was shown to Walt and a room full of enthusiastic onlookers during a birthday celebration. Disney appeared to be amused, praised the animation, and asked who was responsible. And when the two animators identified themselves, they were fired on the spot. Of course, all known copies of the film were destroyed. The story was told by a Disney animator in a 1995 documentary, giving it an air of credibility. But even if it's true, it's highly unlikely that any copies have surfaced in any form. We can be sure though that, if any do, the internet will eventually get its hands on them.
Dreamfinders. When the Disney Channel launched in 1983, it debuted several shows, such as You and Me, Kid, and Welcome to Pooh Corner, that went on to be staples of the fledgling network. While Disney Channel would of course go on to great success, and was an early step in Disney's eventual near domination of media, one of its launch titles barely saw the light of day. The show was called Dreamfinders, and references to it in early Disney Channel promotional materials are among the only reasons anyone remembers it existed. Based on the Epcot attraction Journey into Imagination, it featured a group of children whose magical friend could transport them to the realm of imagination to find solutions to their problems. Only 3 episodes of the show were aired, and then only in the first week of the Disney Channel's existence. Nobody has ever come forward with recorded copies, and reruns have not been shown on any of Disney's other outlets. However interesting it may have been as a product of an interesting time in Disney's history, nobody appears to have laid eyes on the show since the spring of 1983, and recordings are unlikely to surface at this point.
Toon News. Toon News was a series of 26 5-minute-long computer-animated segments featuring Smokey Silvers, a robotic cowboy newsreader who delivered a day's events from Toon News blimp over Toontown. The segments often previewed the cartoon lineup to follow, working them into the Fox News reports, while also having their own storyline. They aired as shorts, serving to fill time between other shows while providing some entertainment and promotional value. And, of course, such content is rarely preserved properly. The series was good enough to be nominated for a BAFTA award, and while there are bits and pieces of it available online, there's nothing that comes close to amounting to the full run, or even one proper episode. Since the shorts aired between 2004 and 2005, even direct contact to the animators requesting for postings to be made online has so far not worked, as a fair amount of time has passed with no response.
Disney's Coyote Tales. Aired on the Disney Channel in 1991, Coyote Tales amounted to a padding out of the 1961 short Coyote's Lament, which had been aired as an episode of the anthology series Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color. For the TV movie, the original short was recut with new footage and a new voiceover, replacing Walt Disney's own voice work with that of the aforementioned Jim Cummings, who has since made a name for himself supplying the voices of a great many Disney characters. It's the simple story of a coyote pup being taught to be proud to be a coyote by his elders, but the TV movie version illustrates their stories with the new footage, incorporating encounters with several well-known characters, mostly Pluto. While the original short Coyote's Lament is readily available online, Coyote Tales aired only once and has never been seen on any type of home video release.
The all-new Mickey Mouse Club. The third version of the venerable TV institution, the all-new Mickey Mouse Club, was launched in 1989 and is notable for the insane number of bona fide stars that its cast would eventually produce. Actors like Ryan Gosling and Kerry Russell are alumni, along with a few artists that you may have heard of, such as Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, and Christina Aguilera. Although the series ran for 6 seasons and was successful enough to launch several members of its cast into international stardom, material from the show is shockingly scarce. Only one full episode currently exists on YouTube, along with various scattered clips of musical performances and intros.
Adventures in Nutrition with Captain Carlos. Another series of interstitial shorts, Adventures in Nutrition with Captain Carlos aired on Playhouse Disney, now Disney Junior, sometime between 2007 and 2008. The Flash animation series was obviously meant to educate youngsters as to good nutrition habits, but was actually the recipient of several complaints from parents who found some of the advice to be poor quality, unrealistic, or both. For example, the series implored kids to entirely avoid junk food of any kind, and I think we all know how likely that is. While a few of the segments have popped up online in Spanish, and a rough cut of one episode exists on Vimeo, all of the other segments except for one are absent from YouTube or anywhere else on the web. None of the skits have aired since at least 2008, although if you were able to get your hands on any Playhouse Disney home media releases from prior to 2009, rumors swirl that some may be found this way. Disney's Timo Supremo. Timo Supremo was an animated superhero series which began airing in 2002 on Disney One, before being bounced around to Toon Disney, ABC Kids, and eventually back to Toon Disney again. It followed the adventures of child heroes Captain Crandall, Skate Lad, and Rope Girl as they defended their city from all manner of supervillains, and like many of the entries on this list, featured outstanding voice talent like Mark Hamill and Tim Curry. The series was drawn in the limited animation style pioneered by Rocky and Bullwinkle creator Jay Ward, giving it a distinct look in comparison to its peers. 39 episodes were produced, with the series ultimately being cancelled in 2004. The series wasn't that popular really, and while some dedicated fans have been diligently digging around for old VHS recordings or repeated airings, so far it appears that this series will largely remain lost.
Phineas and Ferb's Spot the Diff. This special 2-hour Phineas and Ferb mini marathon was aired on the Disney Channel in 2008. It contained 4 previously broadcast episodes which had been modified in-universe by Dr. Doofenshmirtz and his invention, the Change-inator in Nader. Random elements of each episode were changed, such as characters' hairstyles or clothing colors, and viewers were invited to keep track of all the changes they noticed at the official website of the show. This entry is notable for existing only in the memory of those who saw it. There is virtually no other evidence to even account for its existence. As the series was discontinued in 2015, it seems there is little possibility that it will ever make an appearance, unless perhaps one of you out there watching has a recording.
Poor Papa, the 1927 Oswald the Lucky Rabbit short. For this entry, we must go far, far back into Disney's history. How far, you ask? So far that at the time this short was produced, Mickey Mouse was just a gleam in the eyes of Walt Disney, whose first shorts arrived in 1928. This piece, from 1927, was the debut appearance of the character that Walt then thought would be his immortal legacy, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Unfortunately, this debut was deemed to be of too poor quality for release, and it wasn't until Oswald's second feature that the character took off, rivaling established characters such as Felix the Cat in popularity by late 1927. By this time, Disney was already developing plans for his first sound feature, Steamboat Willie, starring Mickey Mouse, the popularity of which would catapult Mickey to stardom. There are actually 3 copies of this short known to exist on VHS tape, all 3 of which have been sold to private collectors, and none of them have been released online. Also, it is rumored that even these recordings only contain a little less than half of the short. meaning that the missing portion is most likely gone permanently.
Uncle Walt. Although not produced by Disney, this short is notable for its use of Disney properties in, shall we say, highly unconventional ways. Film student Robert Swarth produced the short in 1964 as a tribute of sorts, although I doubt very much that Walt would have approved. Descriptions of the short imply it's a not-so-light-hearted skewering of Disney's tropes, featuring Mickey and Minnie engaging in racist caricatures and off-color humor, along with such images as the centaurs from Fantasia working in a red light district, and the horrified reactions of children to some of Disney's more intense scenes, such as the witch's transformation in Snow White. This also appears to be a case in which the fading memories of those who have seen it will eventually bury it in the sands of time, which is probably what Walt would have wanted. It screened only once as part of a UCLA animation workshop in 1972, and no known prints or recordings exist.
Lost Disney Channel wand idents. Finally, many of us remember the classic Disney Channel wand station identifications, featuring one or more of its actors or cartoon characters saying, "You're watching the Disney Channel," before drawing the station's logo with a wand. Many of these have aired over the years, featuring a staggering number of celebrities, including but not limited to Zac Efron, Lindsay Lohan, Hilary Duff, Ashley Tisdale, Shia LaBeouf, Vanessa Hudgens, the Jonas Brothers, Brenna Song, and a lot more. As often as we saw them, these station identifications have burned themselves into the memories of those of us who spent many a long childhood afternoon with the Disney Channel, and, unfortunately, they are almost all lost. Only a tiny handful can be found on YouTube among the dozens and dozens that aired over the course of more than 10 years. Unless you have a time machine lying around, this is one part of your childhood that you'll have a tough time reliving online.